Welcome to Bill Whitty's distance learning version of MA094, Mathematics Preparation. It is very likely that you have never taken a class that's run quite like this course. Not just this section, but this course. So I'm going to explain how it runs, but before I explain how it runs, I think you're going to need to know why we're doing this the way we're doing it. So please, take a look.
Pay attention, son. This is for your own good.
Anyone that wants to get a college degree of any kind, anyone, for a college degree, I got news for you. You're going to have somewhere in there amongst your classes a college level math. Now, a college level math is defined as a math course that has a prerequisite, something you had to take before it, of intermediate algebra. That has to be a prerequisite, something they're not going to go over. Now, some of you don't know intermediate algebra, and before you get that, you're going to have to know beginning algebra. And before you can succeed in beginning algebra, there's no getting around it.
Yoink.
You have to know your pre-algebra. And I got very bad news for you. Of the people that take these classes in community colleges, 50% of them fail. That means those of you that are starting in pre-algebra, 50% of you will fail. And of those people, 50% will fail. And of the people that were to take intermediate algebra, 50% will fail, and very few of them will get that degree. Our experience in the past has shown that this sequence has become such a difficulty for students to get through that many students make a huge mistake, the big mistake of taking a class and succeeding, but then taking a rest before they take the next one. This is a huge mistake. You don't want to ever stop the math sequence until you finish it completely. Otherwise, no degree. So, we're going to have to do something a little different. Now, warning. Consider this. When you took algebra or pre-algebra or anything like that in high school, you took it every day, not like your gym class that you took every other day or something. You took it every day, so we'll say about 5 hours a week. The standard developmental math class in a community college basically goes for 3 hours a week. When you took these courses in high school, you took them for 9 months. Basically September to May, right? We're only going to give you 4 months to do the same information. Now, let's do a little bit of math. We're going to be asking you to learn the same information 45/12. Now, I know you're not good at math, so I'll do it. 45/12 is about 3.75, about 4 times as fast as you didn't learn it, or at least retain it, or remember it, in high school. Now let's put this in perspective. If you were an average sprinter, you know an average sprinter can run 15 miles an hour. If you were racing against something going 3.75 times as fast as that, you'd be racing against
This is a pickle, George. This is a pickle.
a 56 mile per hour car. That's going to be a problem, isn't it? It's probably not the best way to offer this information, because we need to remember it. Yes, we need to remember it.
You can't handle the truth.
Of the people that get a C, for instance, in Algebra 1, get in your mind, guess how many pass Algebra 2?
Oh, very bad. Definitely unacceptable.
That's about 1 out of 10. We don't want to send you to the wolves in that way. We don't want to put you in that group. Now, once people get a B, that number jumps up to 58%, which still stinks, but it's above the national average, as we told you, of 50%. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to force you to get a B, whether you like it or not. Now, that's where you're going to hear the idea of course redesign. All of these developmental math classes have been redesigned to force you to do well. It's called course redesign. Since we need to learn and remember this for the next course, you're going to hear the term
Here's someone who can help you.
mastery learning. Now, every test will be preceded by homework practice assignments, which you will not get the pleasure of even doing a test until you've done 100% of the assigned homework problems. The computer will stop you from taking the test until you've done all of the homework, which has been personally selected for you. You may not proceed from a test until you get at least an 80% on the test. A test that is not open book, a real test. Now you can take that test as many times as it takes. And if you don't get the 80%, you'll be given, you'll see in a minute, a corrective assignment that will help you with the ones you got wrong, and then you'll have to take the whole test over again until you get an 80%. So we need to get an attitude of, I need to really learn this and remember it. And consider that any test you don't take, if it takes you too long, receives a 0. So you'll want to move along. Don't take any days off, because what you haven't done by the end of the semester is going to get a grade of 0. Now
you listen to me. I want details, and I want them right now.
I'm sure you want to know how you're going to actually have your grade calculated. And let's take a look at that. Consider this course is structured very differently than most. The course was actually made to be a 2-semester course. Now you can complete it and save a lot of time and money if you really hustle. You can complete it over 1 semester, but it's really made to run over 2 semesters. The idea is to keep you going. The point is we don't want any student taking a semester rest or a semester off, you see. Okay, let's look at the standard way, the 2-semester way that someone would take this 2-semester course. Divide it into 2 parts. Part 1, the pre-algebra part, which consists of tests 1 through 5. Now there's 10 total tests. And Part 2, the beginning algebra part, which consists of the rest of the tests. Now it's important for you to know that for tests 1 through 5, other than the knowledge that you get by taking those tests, you really don't get anything towards your grade except logistically the privilege to move on to the tests that do count for credit. Now, the second part tests do count for credit. Tests 6, 7A, 7B, 8, and 9 each count for 12% of the grade. And then the final exam, because this is such a cumulative class, is going to count for 40% of your grade. You need to remember all the information from the previous tests to pass. And of course, all those percentages add up to 100%. So that's where your final grade will come from. And note that homework and participation don't count for anything in your grade. The only thing you get from homework is the right to take the tests. Until you get 100% of each of the homeworks done, you are not allowed to proceed. The computer will not let you proceed. Okay? Now you certainly need to retain this information for the long term. I hope you understand. But we also want you to move along to the next class. We're not here to waste your time, you see.
It's always best to start at the beginning.
So some of you will not be starting at the very beginning of this course. Those of you that took the Accuplacer, if you scored below a 46, you will begin. You need all the information. You need the pre-algebra information, so you will begin at the beginning of the course. But those that scored 46 or higher on the Accuplacer will kind of begin in the middle of the course because you already know that information. As I said, we're not here to waste your time. And in coming semesters,
Hey, that's just crazy enough to work.
you will begin where you left off. So the more work you can get done, the faster you will get it done. You will always get credit for what you've done. Okay? So it would behoove you to work every day as hard as you can.
Alrighty then.
Now, while this is a 2-semester class, the college requires semester grades, as you're used to. That's going to, we'll say, divide it into whether you began in Part 1 or whether you began in Part 2 or with a previous grade, which I'll explain in a second. If you began in Part 1, the pre-algebra part, your semester grade,
Ooh, yes.
if you finish Test 5 in 1 semester, but you will get an H. That means you're halfway through this 2-semester course.
No, I can't take it. I can't take it, Jerry. It's too much.
If it's too much and you have to go slower than that and you don't complete Part 1 in 1 semester, but you do get Test 4 successfully completed, then you're not halfway through the course. You're in the middle of Part 1, so you will actually get a grade on your report card, if you would, of M1. I'm in the middle of Part 1. Now that's if you began in Part 1. If you began in Part 2 or have a previous grade of M1 or H and you finished Test 9 successfully but not the whole course, you'll get a similar grade, M2. You're in the middle of Part 2 but have more to do. You haven't finished the course. Now, if you finish the course, that means the Part 2, the final exam is completed, then you'll either get an A, a B, or a C based on the percentages of those last 5 tests. Remember that your grade is based only on your test grades, and you have to at least get an 80% on your tests to succeed.
Uh-oh.
Now, if you don't reach an M1, an M2, an H, A, B, or C in 1 semester, if you don't get any of these grades, you will receive a grade of U. U stands for unsatisfactory, and it tells you and even perhaps the financial aid office that you are not working at a level that would allow you to successfully complete this course in 2 semesters. That's the kind of feedback you will get. Now, as you can see, we're going to have to go as fast as possible, but also still retain the information. So you'll receive other information during the semester. We'll be sending you target dates for tests. Now, they'll be in the course announcements throughout the semester, so always read your announcement as you come into the course in the software. A target date is not a deadline. A target date tells you whether you're about where you need to be in the course. If a target date goes by and you still have not taken the test, you can still take the test, but you need to understand that you are behind pace, so you'll need to start doing more work than you've been doing. If the target date goes by and you have completed, for instance, the target date for Test 2, and you've completed Test 2, then you know you're okay. You may even be ahead of target. Okay? That's why we send you these.
Warning, warning, warning!
Remember, though, that at the end, you can take any test until the end of the semester, and any grade that you haven't taken, at that point anyway, receives a grade of 0. So,
7 years of college down the drain.
you people that are procrastinators better learn to not be procrastinators. You need to move along. By the way, to take a test, you need to go to any Montgomery College Assessment Center on any of the 3 campuses, Germantown, Rockville or Tacoma Park, whatever is most convenient for you. They are password protected, so they'll sit you down and you'll get into your online software, and then they will type in the password for you, and you will take a monitored test at that site. Make sure before you go that the center is open, because they're not open on all Saturdays, but for the most part they're open every day from 8:30 in the morning till 8 at night. But as I said, make sure the center is open and that you have enough time to complete the test. And you'll need to bring a picture ID and a writing utensil. They will give you scrap paper. And most importantly, note that you will not be allowed to use a calculator until after you have completed test 4, which is on decimals. So you will have to demonstrate that you know how to do all that without a calculator. So you may want to make sure that you adjust the way you do your homework that way, to practice the way you will be taking the test. Okay, note that. No calculators until after test 4.
Now what am I gonna do?
Now what if you fail a test? What do I mean? What I mean by failing a test is that you get less than an 80%. We require you to get an 80% on a test. Well, you will not be allowed to proceed to the new work. So what happens? What will happen, and I'll be showing you this in a second, is the software will automatically create what's a test correction, a homework assignment, that you'll be required to do. It'll be made up of several iterations of the questions that you got wrong on the test. We're not going to waste your time with stuff you already know. We're just going to review the questions that you got wrong and find out how to get them right. Then you will retake the test until you get an 80%. Now that test correction assignment is a homework. So like any homework, before you get your next chance at the test, you have to complete it at 100% level. Then you contact the teacher and say, I've finished my correction assignment, I would like another chance at the test. And you have to take the whole test again. Consider, since the correction assignment is a homework assignment, you will have available to you the Ask My Instructor button, which I'll show you in a second, and the similar exercise button. So you'll have an infinite number of attempts to solve this. You have every chance in the world to pass this course.
There's something I have to ask you.
I'm sure that you want to know, how do you actually do this required homework that must be completed before each test? And how is the material even taught to you in the first place? Well, that's probably the best news of all. Consider that you'll be using a Pearson product called MyLabs Plus. Before I show you how to do this and how to get to it, let me show you why. It's kind of exciting, I think, why we chose this specific online product. Most of the homeworks, or all of the homeworks, will look very much like this screen here. There will be a problem of some sort that you will read in this area. There will be a place to type the answer. Now if you can't type it, if it's something mathematical that isn't on the keyboard, you will use this template over here and click on stuff, which we'll work on. We'll have a little tutorial at the very beginning of the course. In addition to that, there are various helps, if you would, that you can click on. You can click on Help Me Solve This, and the software will actually guide you through that problem. Some people like to see a problem just like this problem. That's the View My Example. If you wish, you can actually go to the textbook and read about how to solve that problem. Or the coolest of all, if you click on Ask My Instructor, it will send a copy of this problem to your instructor's email, and the instructor will then reply. I would give them a day or two, or at least a day, but they should reply to your email to tell you how to do that problem. Now, another thing is you'll know right away when you type something in whether you got it right or wrong. As you can see, you can advance through the problems. The problems are numbered up at the top here, and you can click on each one. You probably just want to go in order, but you can see hopefully that number 8, this student got right. It has the green check. And number 9, this person got wrong. But they could redo this problem number 9 and keep trying
I'm back, baby!
using what's called the similar exercise button. If a person clicks on the similar exercise, it gives them an exercise just like that problem, but with different numbers. So you can keep trying. Hopefully you'll ask a question to find out how to understand it, but you'll keep trying forever. So one might ask, when can I use this similar exercise button? And how good is it?
Oh, dear. That's too wonderful to be true.
You have an infinite number of tries. So please consider using the similar exercise button, and don't forget that Ask My Instructor button. Now let's come back and see how we're going to start getting into MyLabs Plus. Note the name of the site that you'll be going to, and you can do this anywhere in the world, okay? At home, on vacation, in the lab, whatever. You'll be going to www.montgomerycollege.mylabsplus.com, and you will sign in. Now your username and password, guess what's that's going to be? Well, the first time, and you can do this right now, the first time you log in,
But that's so easy. I should have thought of it for you.
it'll be your MyMC ID, and your password will be the word, lowercase, password. So of course you have to have a MyMC ID. And that will get you in, and once you log in, click on Sign In, and the screen will look something like this. Now, some people will have more than one course perhaps in the future. So you might have to click on this plus and it'll expand to see your courses. 99% of you will only have one course. So it'll look like this. The blue area. To get to that course, hopefully it's obvious, you will click on that course. And it will jump you to a screen that looks like this. Now there's many things you can do in the menu on the left. I want to talk about just a few of them in this video. Notice that you probably have not paid for anything yet. The first time you try to do any homework in the system, it will ask you for a payment code. Okay? Well, maybe you showed up the first class or whatever and you didn't go to the bookstore and buy that code yet. So it will give you a temporary access code to type in that will last you for 14 days. After that, the system will ask you for your purchased code, which you will have to purchase at the bookstore for MyLabs Plus. Note that this is MyLabs Plus. And then you'll have to put that one in, or you will not be able to continue work. So that's what the temporary access code is for, so that you can get going right away on the first day of class or the first day you try this. The grade book, hopefully is obvious to you. This allows you to see your test scores and your homework scores and see where you are in the course. You can even review old tests and see the ones you got right and wrong, etc. And what you'll probably be using the most often will be homework. And we're going to take a long look at that. If we click on the MyMathLab homework, you'll see a picture something like this. Now the homework can actually include quizzes and tests as well. It's basically a list of all the assignments. So what I suggest to students is when you come in, right away click on Show All, and we'll get to see everything that's here. If I click on Show All, I'll see a picture something like this. Now I've edited a little bit because I want you to see that this class actually has 167 assignments.
Holy cow!
I know it's a lot, but remember you have 2 semesters to do it. So note that you have to go as fast as possible. Now, the little blue and yellow stripes under this show me where in the course I am. It only shows me one screen at a time. Hopefully you can see that I am on the 4th screen out of, 10 screens. So I click to get in the middle just to show you what's going on here. I'm kind of in the middle of the course, aren't I? On the left of all these assignments, these are prerequisite flags. Until that flag has been lowered, you cannot do an assignment. Basically, the homeworks or the assignments are presentations, video presentations of some sort, which we'll show you in a second, followed by homeworks on each of those presentations. Once you have done all of the homeworks in a chapter, each test is preceded by a review assignment for that test, which is a homework. And that is, of course, followed by the test itself, which, as I told you before, you get as many chances to get an 80% on a test as are needed. Every test is followed by a correction assignment. If you don't pass, you have to complete the correction assignment to get a chance to take the test again. And even if you do pass the test, you're required to do the correction assignment, which if you pass the test, the correction assignment won't be that long because you didn't get many wrong, maybe none wrong. But you're required to go over what you got wrong before you move to the next section. Now, when we talk about looking at presentations, in other words, learning the material, before we click on one of these presentations, or we'll call them media assignments, it's important to note that we expect you to have, while you're learning, 2 items on your desk. One is the workbook that you will purchase with your software at the bookstore. It's a workbook that you're required to fill in as you're watching these media assignments. The other is a notebook, that just a regular old homework notebook for you to write your homework in. Okay, we don't want you to write your material, the actual problems, in your workbook. That's just for facts. So the workbook is only labeled facts from the lectures. It's kind of like a notebook. And the homework notebook is only numbered, and I suggest that you number these exercises from your homework so that if you want to go back and find one or ask a question of the teacher, you have them numbered so they're easy to find. So we expect you to have both of them as you're working through this material.
Darn tootin'.
We don't want them to overlap, so only put facts in the workbook and only homework exercises in the homework notebook. Now once again, let me show you. If you click on a media assignment, a presentation if you would, you'll get a choice basically of 4 things. You can either look at a video created by the Pearson people, okay, an actual video on that subject, which we expect you to watch. You can actually read the book. It'll actually jump you to a portion of the book. You have that option. You can look at a PowerPoint presentation on this material, or there's a 4th option. You can watch a video created by me, Professor Whitty, on the same subject. We expect you to do at least one of these to learn the material. You can do more, but you only have to do at least one. And I will be looking to see whether you did that. Once you have completed and hopefully learned the material, you'll come back and the prerequisite flag will drop for the homework, and you'll get the privilege of doing the homework on that assignment. Let's take a look at what would happen if we had already watched the presentation and then clicked on the homework. It would give me, in this case, I can see there are 14 questions that I have to complete. And remember, you must score 100% on this homework before you're allowed to go on to the next one, or perhaps the next test. So let me pick question 1, for instance, and it'll jump me into something that I've kind of seen before.
It's always best to start at the beginning.
Now, as we go through this list of 167 assignments, certainly everyone will begin with the orientation that'll show you how to use those buttons and how to type in answers. Everyone that's in the class will do that. I'm going to click here to jump me to the middle of the 167 assignments and show you something that may occur for some of the students. Remember that some of the students assess into the middle of the course after test 5 or to part 2 of the course. So they, after doing their orientation, will begin in the second part at 9.1. They don't have to take test 5 or any of that. They've already assessed above that. But they will still have to do the orientation and then look down in the middle of the course and begin at symbols and sets and numbers. That's if you assessed into the middle of the course. If you're not sure, by all means, where to start, you certainly are going to start at the orientation. But after the orientation, if you're not sure, ask your teacher. And by all means, ask your teacher any questions. That's what they're there for. Note, in this case, the prerequisite flag, you can check it. If the prerequisite flag has been removed, then you have access to that assignment. Okay? So that's another clue right there. Now the teacher cannot adjust these prerequisite flags until you've both logged into the software and inserted your payment code. So, by all means, it is very important that you be sure to log in using your MyMC ID and the word password, remember, and additionally insert your access code, whether it's the temporary one or the one you paid for at the bookstore. It's important to do that as soon as possible if you want to begin. It can be done as early as 1 week before classes start. So by all means, don't get behind already. Get right to it, log in, and the teacher, as soon as you log in, I'll give them a day, will adjust your starting point and you can get going. Once again, let me say that your teacher will receive a report for each of their sections that will assist them in course placement, similar to something like this. Now, and that'll tell them where to put you in the course. But they cannot do that until you've inserted your access code and have completed the orientation assignment, which is the first one in the sequence. Okay? Once you've done that, both of those assignments, in other words, inserted the access code and completed the orientation, go ahead and let your teacher know, and they'll put you in the right place, and you can begin working at the appropriate spot. We don't want you to start working at the wrong spot. Okay? Be sure to let your teacher know when you've completed both of these actions before continuing work. Now, as far as questions for the teacher, let's talk about that. Always consider using the Ask My Instructor button. If you click on that, it will send a copy of the question to your teacher. But you should, you can also just use first.last@montgomerycollege.edu to email the teacher, but that won't give them a copy of the problem.
I know that, dude.
Make sure, no matter what you do, that you sign your full name. The teacher cannot know who you are based on your email. So by all means, sign your full name and add a little bit. Don't just send the copy of the problem with a huh kind of a thing. Ask them, what about the problem you're having trouble with? Add some sort of note, and by all means, make sure you use clear, correct English sentences and capitalization. All the teachers have been told not to answer your question if it's written in texting language. This is not appropriate for employers or professors, and we will not accept that. So make sure you ask a clear question using correct English sentences and capitalization. No lowercase i's.
Stop, I can't take it. I can't take it, Jerry. It's too
Now,
much. It's too much.
I personally open about 60 student emails a day on the average. Please, you paid for me, so don't send me any thank you emails. I'll just delete it right away. I appreciate your courtesy, but in this case, it's more courteous to just, if you would, move on in the homework, okay? You can thank me by doing more homework.
What's all this jabberwopping when there's work to be done?
Okay, well, let's get going. Go ahead and sign in and purchase your code and dig in and take those tests. Good luck to you.